Evening, guys, and welcome to the Mental Health Podcast, Nothing Off Limits, Episode 2. Now, this week, I want to do it a little bit differently. Me and Sam jumped on the last podcast, and I want to this one's going to be just me. So I want to give the viewers, the listeners, I want to give everybody a little introduction into me. I want to give like a little backstory so that everybody has a clue who I am and what my story is and where I want to go. Now, I think the idea for this podcast kind of came as it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. Now, anybody that knows me and anybody that's listening to my content or has listened to my content before will know I am a sufferer of mental health issues. Right, I have no issue in saying that. I have no issue sharing that with people, as I think it's really important to try and get that message across. Now, I think what I should also mention, which kind of ties in why I'm doing the podcast now, is as it's Mental Health Awareness Week, I couldn't think of a better way to put a mental health podcast out during this week. Now, it's from the 18th until the 24th of this month, so it has already started. As I've mentioned just previously, I think what a time to do it, you know. What a kind of time to be able to get my message out there so that people can listen and just kind of get an idea. Look, in the grand scheme of things, I'm just one person, but I believe that if one person can make a difference, even just by sharing a bit of information, talking to someone, you know, even go as far ringing people. I have rung people recently to check they're okay. I have spoke to various people. It's something, and I know I've mentioned it on previous podcasts, but the message that I really want to try and drive home is it's okay to talk to people. So, as I've said before, Mental Health Awareness Week, what a time to do it. It's absolutely fantastic that something like this exists now, whereas when I was growing up as a teenager, nothing like this existed. You know, I think that, just what a time. And what a privilege to be able to share a bit of me with everybody else. Even if it big or small, it doesn't matter. Any info I give people, hopefully there's someone that's listening out there that will take it on board, and hopefully it can help somebody. And I really hope to God it does, because I personally wish that something like this was out there for me when I was growing up, when I first kind of suffered from mental health issues, and when I was kind of a young teenager finding my way in the world, like every other teenager. You're trying to, find your clique, find your sort of lane. I really wish something like this existed when I was a kid. It would have helped me no end. But now I'm able to do it myself. If I can give something back to the many people that helped me and kind of spread the love, spread the good vibe, and spread a good message, then I'll do that. This podcast isn't going to be as long today, because it's. I kind of want to cover it, I want to try and do it a little bit differently. I don't want people to just think I'm waffling on, because I can do that. I could talk the back legs off a donkey. But, I just want to try and do it a little bit different this week. It is going to be a little bit shorter, but I believe the content in it is going to be better than what I've done before, because that's really what we want to try and do. We want to try and get better every week. It's kind of portray the same message, but in a different way. So the main message is still there. Talk to people, share your stories, share your experience. I will be out and about. I will be getting to interview various people. I've had some great feedback so far from the people that listened to my first podcast, episode 1, which is on my YouTube channel at the moment. So if you could go like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. I've had great feedback so far on what I've been doing, and it really spurs me on to try and really carry on with what I'm doing, because it feels like I've found a purpose. and I've found something that I really enjoy doing that is for the greater good. So there is no reason for me now not to continue and carry on doing it. I am just one spoke in the wheel. I'm a cog in the machine. I get that. You know, out of how many billions of people on this planet, I'm just one. But I believe I could make a positive influence on people's lives. I really believe that. With the things that I've been through before and what I still go through to this day, if I share my story, that could help someone that's really in need. So, I must stress that message. If there is anybody out there that is suffering from mental health issues, please try and seek help. Or if you can't go to someone professional, please talk to a member of your family, one of your friends, because you never ever know what is going on. And not just with yourself, with other people. Yeah? Because, let's be honest, mental health, every year it affects 1 in 4 people throughout the UK. It's a silent killer. Yeah? Now, anybody that has read, it is a link in my other YouTube video, the first episode of the podcast. It gives a little brief description about the UK, because it's where I live. I live in it. If I haven't mentioned it before, I live in a small steel-making town in the north of England. Good old northern boy. You know, I'm proud of where I've come from. I know anybody that's listening to this podcast outside of Scunthorpe, I'm sure you'll have something to say about it, but it's home to me. It's where I was born, it's where I've grown up, and it's where I've had my most significant life experiences to date. So when the country's lockdown is lifted, as I've mentioned before in this podcast and my previous one, I will be getting out and about to interview people so that you can see. It will be video content, so you can see people, you can get an idea of me, you can put a face to a name, which I think is really important. As I want to take you guys on a journey with me. I want you to understand me better, and I want to be able to get other people on and share their stories as well. So, if we kind of smoothly roll on into the next part of the podcast, I've recently been having some like Facebook, mainly over Facebook Messenger, some over Instagram and Twitter, basically people asking me some questions that they wanted me to answer. So I thought, what better way to do it than to kind of put it on the channel? I mean, I can just, as we go through the questions, if you have any comments, guys, please, negative or positive, please feel free to put them in the comment section down below. It is, I mean, feedback is such a big part of any channel, because I just want to kind of get to know you guys as well, which I think is important. It's kind of, it works both ways. I'd like to get to know you guys, and I'd also like you to get to know me. So we'll just rattle on with some of the questions that people have sent in to me. I'm not going to mention names, just for a bit of confidentiality reasons, but there's some really good questions in here, so I'll crack straight on with them. Sent in by Anonymous. What's your motivation for doing this channel? I think it's a great question, to be honest. My motivation really is just to try and share my experiences with other people. Now, I don't want you guys to kind of think I'm waffling on with that, but when you actually read and what it says and you really take that message in, I want to share my experiences with other people. For anybody that suffers with mental health, you'll kind of understand that it's, if you can share your problem with other people, there's an old famous saying that I like to live by, and it's a problem shared is a problem halved. And it's so true. I think that's really what gives me the motivation. Knowing that I could help someone who's either watching my content, who's on the other end of a message, if somebody needs to speak, it could literally be anything. That really is my motivation. Because what bigger motivation is there in life to make other people feel good as well as yourself? Because I personally can't think of anything else that is really compares to that. your mental health is the most important thing. Your brain, not to kind of go into a scientific way, because I'm not very science orientated at all. In fact, I were bloody dreadful at it at school. But I think anybody that, as I've said, anybody that suffers with mental health, you will understand about a problem shared is a problem halved. That really, I can't say much more than that, because that message in itself should really hit people. Now, whether you do suffer with mental health problems or whether you don't, to be honest, it's a bit irrelevant, because, motivation. Motivation, I would say it definitely motivates me to try and make other people feel better. I guess that really is, to answer the question properly, I guess that really is my main motivation. And not just for other people, it's for myself as well, to make myself feel better. Because, I've spoke numerous times, and not just on podcasts, just to people in general. If we're having a general chat, they all know who I am and what I suffer with. I don't have any shame in that. I would. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I would have been ashamed of the fact that I suffered with mental health problems, and I have done for over 10 years. But I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm not ashamed, should I say. Because why should you be ashamed of something that you can't control? That's also it's like a little message, if you like. Why should I be ashamed of something that I can't control? I didn't choose to be like this, Certain experiences that have happened through my life, i.e. dad passing away, not seeing mum for a long time because she was out once we lost dad. She was gone for days and days on end and I wouldn't see her, and I was kind of left at home on my own, not knowing where to go or, who to turn to. I'm really fortunate that I had 2 family members in my nana and granddad that stuck the neck out for me and pulled me out of a black hole, because if they didn't, I can say quite honestly in front of everybody, I don't know where I'd be. As I'm sitting here now, I don't know where I'd be without them two. Family is such an important part of your recovery, and it's not just with mental health. It could be anything in life. It could be recovery from something as serious as a car accident. It could be, if you want to go back to mental health, it could be recovery from mental health issues. There's no substitute for family. Your friends are fantastic, and I have some great ones. The ones that I've done podcasts with before. As you know, I'm close to Sam Jenkin, who also has a YouTube channel. He's jumped on podcasts with me before. We really enjoy doing this sort of thing. He's been a massive, massive help for me in this last 2 or 3 months. When it's got really rough and and your back's against the wall and the chips are down, you find out who the people are who really matter and who are going to be there for you. And I can't thank him enough for that, because it takes balls to step up as a mate. It really does. And he knows I would do the same for him as well. And the same goes for anybody else. Anybody, any single one of my friends, and it doesn't matter who it is, where you live, how old you are, I have no preferences whatsoever. I will try and help anybody. That, guys, is my motivation. So, quickly moving on to the next question. Who is your audience, or who would you like the video to apply to? In answer to that question, the video shouldn't really apply to one specific group of people. It should apply to everybody. Mental health has no boundaries. It has no preferences. It affects anybody and everybody. 1 in 4 people in the UK last year, guys. 1 in 4 people. So as you're walking down the street and you're looking at someone, and if you see 4 other people, one of those 4 people will suffer mental health at some point. They will have mental health issues at some point in their life. That's a scary, scary number. I could walk down not walk very well at the moment, but I could walk down my local high street and look at 4 other people, and one of them could suffer. I guess, could they be my audience? Yeah, possibly so. But it's not just them that it applies to, it's everybody. It's a tough question to answer, really, because I personally, I don't know. I mean, guys, feel free to mention in the comments or anything about the channel. Feel free to get in touch, and if you think it should apply to a group of people, because I personally don't think it should. I don't think that you should narrow it down. It should apply to anybody, whether you've suffered with mental health or not. And I don't really think there's a specific kind of audience for that, because it's anybody that chooses to listen and anybody that thinks it applies to them, or it doesn't matter. So it is a generic thing, really. So yeah, that's really the best kind of answer I can give to that question. Just definitively, so everybody can kind of fathom what I'm saying. I don't really think there is a specific audience, and I don't really think it should apply to a certain group of people. I think it should be for everybody. And I've got another one here. What are my goals and aspirations, and not just with the podcast, but life in general? I think that's a great question. As I've said before, guys, I'm not going to say who sent the questions in, at the risk of them feeling stupid, really, for asking. Not that they should, by any stretch, because I appreciate any questions and any feedback that people do have. But I think this is one of the best questions I've been sent. My goals. I think my goals really tie into what I've said before, in that I just want to kind of get my voice out there and try and help somebody. It doesn't matter if it's one person, 100 people, 1,000, 1,000,000. It really doesn't matter, because I get my kicks from helping people, and I get my kicks from kind of thinking that I'm making a difference, even if it's just to one person out of how many billion that live on this planet. In terms of my aspirations, well, it's not. I mean, as the question says, it's not just with the podcast, but it's life in general. I'll answer both. The podcast, I would really like it to become a thing on YouTube that people go to. Their kind of go-to podcast to listen to. Look, I know I waffle on, right? And any viewers, I don't have any qualms in saying that, because I know I waffle on. But I think that the things that I've been through and the things that I still go through to this day enable me to be able to talk openly about it, because, as I've said before, I'm not ashamed. I tend to do this quite a lot. I tend to kind of revert back and kind of mention the question or answer it in the same as another one, if that kind of makes any sense. Because it's like constant messages, because the more you listen to me, the more I believe that I make sense. Sometimes I could talk absolute crap, but I'd like to think that most of the time my content and the things that I'm saying make a little bit of sense and that they apply to people. And that's really my kind of aspirations, is to kind of get it out there to as many people as possible. Because the more you speak about mental health, it can't be any worse. You can only make it better for yourself. I've learnt that over the years. And I mean, in the last 6 months or so, before the lockdown period, which it did really set me back. Of course it did. I think it did most people, because it's very uncertain times for everybody. But I was seeing a counsellor. I'm not going to say her name, but she was absolutely fantastic. You know, she helped me more than I could ever imagine, because I had structure. You know, I had something in my life that had some structure to it, rather than just off the cuff all the time, because my anxiety used to just go through the roof. I'd be constantly left with the unknown and the uncertain all the time. And I think if you can kind of get some structure to your life, if you get goals, if you look at things from a different perspective, it can help you so much. It really has me, and I've become such a better person for it. And of course I'm still working on myself. I always will be until the day that I die. You know, you never stop learning, but on the flip side of that, you should never ever stop making yourself better. Make yourself more mentally aware. Have a little bit more awareness about your body and how it works. All these things will contribute to your mental health. It's so important, guys. It really is. I mean, I know I don't want people to feel that are listening to this content. I don't want them to feel like I'm just drumming stuff in the face, like I'm really kind of pushy, because that's the last thing I want to do. But I really, I'm so desperate to kind of get myself out there, and just kind of get an idea of who I am and how I could help you, because I believe I could help anybody. I don't have any preferences as to who it is. I just love helping people. That they are also my aspirations. I'd love to be able to get. I'd love to be able to get to the point where I kind of really get to as many people as I can and just help. That's all I want to do, is just help. Life, well, I'd love to be able to hit America at some point. It's something I've dreamed of since I was a kid. I actually had the chance to move to America when I was 11 years old, funnily enough. Me, my mum and dad, my dad when he was alive, bless him. We actually had the chance to move to Florida when I was 11 years old. And me, being a very naive, stupid kid, said no. I can't understand for the life of me why I said no, but I did. I want to go, but I want to move back there at some point. I believe that America, I want to chase the American dream. I want to move across there, and I want to make a new life for myself. That's really, within the next 5 to 10 years, that's kind of where I've set my head at, is moving to America, and really kind of living the American dream and trying to make my way in a different place. Because as much as I love Scunthorpe and it will always be home to me, and the people that live here I will hold very dear, but you should never ever hold yourself back from doing what you want to do. And if that includes moving away, then you should do that. It's such a big thing for me. I really, really want to try in this next 5 to 10 years to get as much, and not just money, but I want to try and get as much experience and kind of finances. I'd say, yeah, they play a part in it, because let's face it, you can't move without money. But I'd love to be able to chase the American dream at some point. I'd love to go live in America and kind of hit the scene over there. But for the time being, I am in the UK. I'm in Scunthorpe in the north of England. So my goals up until then, really, just to be happy. What more can you ask for in life than to be happy? If you are happy, you've already won 75% of life if you are happy, because everything else will fall into place as it should. How else do I word it, really? The aim is to just be happy, and that's it. I don't really know how else to say that. So yeah, that's kind of my answer for that, really. Life in general, I just like to be happy. Wouldn't everybody? Time to go on to the next question. It's kind of similar as the previous one. Where would I like to be in 5 years' time? I'm not really sure if there's a specific place I'd like to be in 5 years' time, but I know that in 5 years, I'd just like to be happy. I'd just like to be happy and content with my life, where I'm going, what I'm trying to achieve. Little bit of a short answer for this one, really, but there's not really a better way I can say it. To just, wherever I am in the world, just be happy and content, because that's what life's about, really. I don't really know what else is important in life. Yeah, you could have a career, but I know people that live in the town I do, they've gone away to university, they've gone to different places, they've studied for years. They're not happy because they've lived through university. I wouldn't say they look like happy people. And my door and my phone is always open to those people. But that's never been for me. I've never been that kind of person. I'm quite academically challenged. And for someone that says academically challenged, you'd probably think it sounds like I'm not, but believe me, I was not the best learner at all, especially not in school. I've definitely learned more out of school than I ever did in it. It just wasn't for me, school. And some of the most successful people in history have all said they never ever achieved anything in school and never learnt anything. And some of the most successful people that we know in the world today that have been and gone, or that are still on this planet, never went to school, never went to university, or if they did go to university, they dropped out. So I'm not afraid. I'm not really, I'm not kind of worrying about that, because there's plenty of time for things to fall into place, really. Now, guys, as I mentioned, this was going to be a shorter podcast. I'd love for you to keep your eyes peeled on this podcast, because there is big things to come. The lockdown is scuppering me a little bit. It's kind of stopping me from doing what I want to do, but we want to keep chugging along in the meantime. We want to really keep that good vibes message rolling. If you could leave a like and subscribe to this channel, guys, that would be absolutely brilliant. And believe me, it'd be appreciated more than you ever know. You know, in simple terms, the more people that see my content, the more people I can help. And I believe that's such a big thing. And especially when you're putting yourself... Because I don't mind putting myself out there. I don't mind talking about my experiences, but other people might mind, you know. Those people, I want to help everybody. I guess that's... If you can take anything away from this podcast, I'd love to be able to help people. And I'd love to be able to get around the world, around this country, meeting different people and hearing their stories. So keep your eyes peeled, guys, because there's some really big content coming, providing this lockdown goes away fairly sharpish, which I'd love it to, and so that everybody can be safe and just get back to some form of normality again. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to leave some links in my description below the video. It's going to be a link to some websites that I feel could really help people. And it literally could be anything. It could be... if you're feeling a bit down, or if you feel like you do want to seek some help, there's some fantastic charities and organisations available. They're there to help you. One of the links is for the Good Samaritans. Now, I can vouch for the Samaritans. I've spoke to them. This poor woman, I must have been bending her ear for about an hour, just to kind of give you a little backstory. I actually spoke to them for over an hour. Just on one occasion, but honestly, if I'd have been stood next to that woman, I would have given her the biggest hug possible. I don't even know her name. But I'll never ever forget what she said to me. She said that you are worth something, you always will be worth something, and you can achieve more than you'd ever believe. You can achieve more than you'd ever believe. You just have to believe. What a message. I've never met this woman. Never met her in my life. I've never spoke to her before, and I probably will never meet her. But what a message to portray and convey to somebody. What a message. The Good Samaritans is just one of the many organisations out there that are so willing to help all the time. I can't stress how important it is, guys, to really, really look into that. Because if you are suffering, these people, they often do it for free. They're just kind of in the same position I am, where they work for a charity that offers help to people. It can't be any better than that. You will never, ever get any better help than that. I know I didn't. I mean, my counsellor is fantastic, but some of the words and the phrases and the way that they really keep you on board. The Good Samaritans are some of the best people I've ever spoke to, because I know that woman was, and she saved me at that point, because I was in a really, really dark place. These are just... the Good Samaritans are just one of the many, many people out there, guys, that are willing to help. The links will be in the description down below. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and if you do want to give me any feedback on the video, guys, about the podcast, honestly, it could be anything at all, don't be afraid to write it in the comments section. I'm Reese Popwell. This has been Nothing Off Limits, the mental health podcast. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all soon. I will see you all soon. Take care. Goodbye. Love you all.